Nemesis is the 10th book in the Orphan X series, and it's very different from what has preceded. You'll remember, readers will know that the line around which the whole series coalesces is when Evan's pulled out of a foster home at the age of 12, and Jack Johns, who is his handler and father figure, tells him, the hard part won't be making you a killer. The hard part is keeping you human. And that is this quest. I mean, this book series is really about Evan's process of becoming more human and learning to speak the strange language of intimacy. And now, for the first time in the series and in his life, the target is somebody who he is very, very close with. It's Tommy Stojack. It's his best friend. Tommy has sold weapons to somebody that have been used to kill innocents. That is a red line that you do not cross with the Nowhere Man. And Evan is coming after Tommy with everything that he has. And for the first time, that personal connection that he has with other people, the things that he's been growing in himself to figure out, are really, really on the line. And for me, one of the things that was so compelling about this, I was thinking about this as I was writing it. I always think of plots first and not themes. I get snippets of scenes and lines of dialogue. It all kind of just falls out of the world into my head. But, you know, none of us actually change our mind about our ethic, our code, our morality based on an op-ed or on a think piece that we've read in the Wall Street Journal. The vast majority of the time, when we change some foundational belief, it's because somebody who we know and love and value and refuse to just easily dismiss says something or believes something or votes in a way or does something that we just can't comprehend, and we can't get our head around it. And so we're kind of stuck there with him. And so this is the question between Evan and Tommy, who are both very deadly men. They have chosen paths that have led them to essentially shatter and break each other's codes. And are they going to find a way through to each other and actually change? Or is it going to be last man standing with one of them dead on the ground? And that's the central question that's put forth in Nemesis. It's funny, I have certain scenes that I have set throughout all the ages of him. And this is one that just really presented itself to me. There was a couple pieces of scenes I always had in my mind about him. It's basically about this like brutal seer training that Jack subjects him to when he is in his teenage years. And he's just brutalized. He has to drag himself across the country under a bunch of aliases, and then he has to do an entire BUDS course, basic underwater demolition training for the SEALs, by himself alone, because there's no BUDS class for him. He's just him. And he's just brutalized along the way. There's a story in there that's one of my favorite stories from, I have a very dear friend who is a former 60 gunner on the teams, former Navy SEAL. And this is actually the story of what happened to him. This piece of it during BUDS training, it involves a toenail, a problematic toenail. And it's just one of the most horrific things. I always wanted to get that into a book somewhere. It never left my head. And so the code is great. It's this glimpse back at Evan's early life. It's a glimpse back at the relationship that was foundational for him with Jack. And it's a kick-ass little short story adventure too, with lots of mayhem in it. I had that. One of the things that happened, Jake, is when I wrote the rough draft of Orphan X, it was like 30,000 words overwritten. I mean, it was like a third of a book overwritten. And I had two really helpful conversations. One of them was I had lunch with Lee Child, the great Lee Child, in New York. And I was talking to him about working on this new series. And he said to me about Reacher, he said, the thing with the series is you can turn those cards over really slowly through the whole course of a series. You don't got to say everything all at once, like in a standalone. And then I have a wonderful editor, Keith Kayla, over at Minotaur St. Martin's Macmillan. I'm under the Minotaur imprint. And he did a lot of that work of figuring out what pieces might need a home later. And so I had all these stories written about Evan in the foster home, and Evan's first mission as Orphan X. Evan's first mission as the Nowhere Man. All of these were written, and I kind of pulled them all out. And then I've had bits and pieces and drips and scenes and structure that have fallen into the books over the years and over the course of the series. And so I've always had placeholding for him throughout his life in my head. and in the life of the character. So yeah, I go back and reacquaint myself with it. It's sort of like, you know, just last night I was with my wife. We were flipping through pictures from years ago on her phone and little videos of my daughter when she was younger, and it's like, oh yeah, I remember that mannerism. I remember that shirt. Like, oh my God, look at that. Remember that like ugly ass couch that we had. You sort of, you know, so I'll re-embed myself in something, but it's more like remembering something that I've known about him. So Luke Devine is a character who I introduced in The Last Orphan, which was 3 or 4 books ago. It'd be 4 books ago by the time Antihero comes out. And he is a brilliant visionary. He's a power broker. He's very, very smart and very manipulative. He's a visionary who can think in deep and different ways. He's got unbelievable reach through the corridors of power. And he can move the whole world on its axes. So he sort of is the abstract political power move, nation state embodied in one person, mogul version of what Evan is on the street. And Evan met him on an earlier mission when he was supposed to kill him, or when killing him was on the table, I should say. And he elected not to, not because he likes Devine, but because it didn't cross fully the red lines in his code. And so Devine and him have this sort of like uncomfortable manipulative relationship where Evan just uses him when he needs things. Well, this time Luke Devine calls and he's a mess. His brain has come unraveled. You know, I think he's bipolar. He's definitely manic. And he's just in a spin. His brain is deteriorating and he's in an immense position of power. And so Evan goes to sort of deal with him and put him back together, because holding him together means holding part of the world together. And when he's there, he comes upon a story of somebody who's one of Luke's acquaintances, of a young woman who was taken off a New York City subway and just brutalized. And he goes on the path to try and identify and find this woman and protect her. And when he reaches her, he discovers that she's actually quite a devout Orthodox Christian. And so one of the promises that she extracts from him before he takes her mission to help her is that he not kill anybody should he track down those who assaulted her, no matter how brutally. And so what Antihero is about really is Evan having to integrate this higher code within his assassin's commandments. And that kind of makes him go into a mission with one arm tied around his back in a way he's never been. And it puts him on very, very precarious footing, both externally in the world of the menace and dangers that he's going to face, but also internally as he's trying to see what in his code can sustain him. What is he willing to sacrifice? And is there a path in here for a way to a higher and better human understanding? Well, this is the first time that he brings his sidekick in charge, Josephine Morales, who goes by Joey, along with him on a mission. She's actually with him in this mission. And that raises a whole bunch of additional complications for him and how he's going to manage all this. He does seek help additionally from Candy McClure, who is the femme fatale, who is Orphan V. And Evan's relationship with her certainly deepens and broadens out quite a bit. And he has... you know, I think those would be the two main ones that I would say in this. You know, he always has his relationship with Mia Hall, who is the single mother district attorney who lives downstairs from him, who he has this don't ask, don't tell romantic entanglement with her. And as his entanglement increases with Candy McClure on the mission, it's very abrupt and confounding when he returns home and finds himself face to face with Mia. So there's a little bit of a balance between two different women here. He has thought about retiring. He's thought about moving on plenty. I don't think he's ever gotten quite to the white picket fence and the wood paneled station wagon, but he certainly has given thought to walking away before, until he realizes each time that this is truly who he is. This is the one thing that he can do and is put on earth to do. I think the biggest challenge of the last few books is him trying to hold that mission integrated with also being somebody who has kept his humanity. And what does that look like for him moving forward? It's not going to look like a traditional suburban life. But it also can't look like what it has looked like before. Certainly not after his run-in with Tommy and Nemesis, and certainly not with whatever is happening to him, the kind of transformational change that is afoot in Antihero.